Tyler, let me see if I can flip this switch in the right direction. Howdy, folks. I think I'll keep him on just a little while longer. Did a good job. How was lunch? Yeah? Good. So I'm calling you the post-lunch coma crowd because they decided to put me up to keep you engaged while you digest. And this is inherently the time in which the eyelids will start to fall down a little bit, and that settling in will really start to happen in your seat. So in order to avoid that happening right away, go ahead and stand up. It is 12:47. You have 3 minutes. I want you to meet 3 people. You have 30 seconds apiece. Introduce yourself to them. You get introduced back, move on to the next person. I'm going to call out 30-second intervals. Don't be afraid to move around. Okay, you should be moving on. You should be moving on to another person. Yep. It's all right. You should be moving on to the next person. Got 1 more minute? Oh, wow. You guys tuned yourself down. Did you hear the volume? Wrap it up. All right. I'll give us a moment to get the blood going again here. See if I can hold your attention for the next 30 minutes. We are on the downhill slide to today. I'm going to be talking with you a little bit about how you get from where you are to where you want to go. Following this up, you're going to have another podcast that we're going to do live in here with basic business advice, and then our keynote speaker, Maurice Claret, will be there after that. So we're on the downhill slide. Last year, Jordan says we've been doing this for 10 years, and it's hard to believe. There are more people in 3 rows than I had at the entire first conference for this, so it's very exciting to see you guys here. But last year, I talked about, one part of my conversation was about the pull of what is, the gravity of where you are, and talked about how the status quo, the place that you currently occupy, pulls you towards it. Why? Because it's comfortable, because it's easy, because you know it, and you will feel that pull. But a lot of you who feel that pull in this room also understand the pull of what could be, what might be next. And that next might be what service you offer and how it could be improved. That next might be how you add something else to your portfolio. That next might be a new role or a new adventure for you. You know that pull. And the problem is that the pull of where you are can be so strong that this pull over here of what might be never really gets its chance. But we sit there and we get frustrated. How many of you out there have an idea about what's next or what could be next for you, your business, your team, your personal life? How many of you have an idea right now? How many of you have had that idea, and I'm not going to make you raise your hands for this, for a long time? You have been looking at this thing, you have been thinking about this thing. It has been hanging out there for a long time. And the reality of it is, the pull of what is just pulling on you so hard that you have yet to break free of it, to go towards what will be. I work in a profession that is old. The legal profession has been around for hundreds of years, and nothing inside the legal profession changes overnight. Laws are made after decades and decades of trial and error and changes. We just passed 2 issues in the state of Ohio. If you think that means it's done, you're wrong, because it's just getting started. Challenges to those issues will be brought in court. Challenges to refine them, to get them better. Nothing in the law happens overnight. It is all very long. The pull in law is towards precedence. What has already happened that we can rely on? And so changes in the law towards what could be take a very long time. Too long sometimes. And what I love about business is that changes can happen as soon as there's somebody willing to go into it. Changes can happen as soon as somebody says, I am going to break free of this place here, and I'm going to go there. That's all it takes. But sometimes we just feel stuck. And stuck is a mindset. Stuck is a problem. Stuck is, I'm not able to move from where I am because, and list out whatever you want to say your because is. But stuck is a really small perspective on us. I'm going to give you guys 4 numbers. 1,000, 66,000, 150,000, and 1.34 million. Those 4 numbers are impacting you right now, and you have no idea about it. 1,000, 66,000, 150,000, and 1.34 million. Here's how it's affecting you sitting in your seat right now. On top of this globe that we are just a little spot on of, we are moving at 1,000 miles an hour around. So hold on, it's going to get fast. You are moving in a circle around this sphere at 1,000 miles an hour. That sphere, while it is spinning, is moving at 66,000 miles an hour around the sun. That sun is moving at 150,000 miles an hour around the center of our galaxy, the Milky Way. And that galaxy is moving at 1.34 million miles an hour towards another galaxy that in a couple billion years we might run into. Don't worry, it'll be okay. You can go to bed at night knowing we're not going to hit another galaxy. You are in a space this second that has never before and never again in the history of the universe been occupied by a person. You are moving so fast through the universe that this second, right now, you occupy a whole new space in that universe that has never before been occupied. Oh, you did it again. And again. And again. Again. Man, you guys move. Tonight you'll go to bed. While you sleep and your brain shuts down for 6 hours, if you're a really good business person, you actually get 6 hours of sleep. You will move to a place in the universe that you never occupied before and nobody will ever occupy again. Stuck is a mindset because the universe is in motion. Everything about reality is moving right now. It's just we get so small sometimes that we feel like we're stuck. We feel like the pull towards this place is so significant that I can't go there. The reality of it is you are going no matter what you're doing right now. You are headed someplace that you will have never been before, and you are going to never go there again. That is what is real. The mindset of being stuck in a business, that you're not happy with what's happening. The mindset of being stuck in a personal journey that you're not liking what is happening for yourself is a very small mindset. And let's get really real about it, because when we want to talk about propelling ourselves from where we are to where we want to go, we've got to have some really radical honesty about this stuff. The first piece of that honesty is this: I'm where I am because I want to be. I am where I am because I want to be there. If I did not want to be here, I don't have to be here. I can go there, wherever there is. If I don't like where I am, all I have to do is change. This sounds like a ridiculously simple thing to say about how do you propel yourself from where you are to where you want to be. Go there. You just have to choose. Because if you choose not to, or even choose to take no action, you are where you are because this is what you have chosen. None of us, and I appreciate what Pure Gift of God does, because we all see children who have no choice. We see children who lack the ability to choose and shape their future because those around them have taken it from them. Nobody in this room is in that situation. Every person in this room has agency to participate in the movement of the universe by saying, I want to go from where I am to over there. I want to change. I want to improve. I want it to be different. And so we have to get really honest and say, I'm here because I have chosen to be here in this space. The other thing we have to get really, really honest about is I'm here because I believe I can't be someplace else. When we say we're here and only these things are possible, well, I can't do that because, or this person's preventing me from doing this, we set up a belief structure around ourselves that pins us in this place. We are where we are because we choose to be, and because we've chosen to believe things that will limit us from going someplace else. Because here's what's real. You want the secret? Everything you believe right now about the way you have to do things, you made up at some point in time, or somebody else made up at some point in time. We literally just made it up. We said, hey, let's play pretend and make this business. Well, this business is going to do this. Well, this is how we're going to do this business. And after a while, we forgot that we were literally just making it up as we went along, and we feel like, oh, well, I've been doing it this way since the 80s. This is the way Dad always did it. This is the way. How many times have you heard an appeal to the way it has been for the reason for the way it has to be? When in reality, we just made it up. That's the biggest secret to business. From a solopreneur to somebody who is running a multi-million-dollar organization. When you're really honest about it, you're just making up the rules as you go along. And some of them you want to stick by. For instance, you don't want to come to me because you're like, hey, Chris, you said we just made up the rule not to steal money. Don't do that. That's a good rule to stick by. Don't take money from clients that you haven't earned. That's always a good rule. But the other things of how do I do this? How do I serve these people better? How do I deliver this product more innovatively? How do I build this team? The reality of it is, every rule that you're operating by right now, you made up, or somebody else made up for you, and you've just chosen to adopt that reality. You've chosen to say, this is real, and these are the limitations of what I can do. You are here. You want to go there. What's it going to take to get you from this place to that place? Radical honesty. I'm honest. I'm here because I choose to be here. I'm here because I believe certain things about this. But then accepting reality that you don't have to be. Like I said, I operate in a profession that has a lot of inherited rules, a lot of things that say you have to be this way and you have to be that way. There are some of them that are really good to follow. There's some of them that are so outdated and outmoded that they're actually preventing us from serving people well. Have you ever encountered that in your business? Some system, some procedure, some perceived rule that actually is preventing you from serving people well, from being a part of what is going on that is good and well. And then we go, why are we doing this? And there's really no good reason for doing it other than, well, that's just the way we kind of always had to do it. Propelling yourself forward takes owning where you are and the rules you've chosen to play by up to this point in time. And some of those rules are actually holding you back and preventing you from doing things that you need to do. You have the ability to create a whole new paradigm for your business. You have the ability to tear down what it is you think is going on and the way you need to play and rebuild it from scratch. Because like I said, the great thing about business is all it takes is somebody to go and do it. All it takes is somebody to leave this space and move into this one. And all of a sudden, you're shaking up an industry. All of a sudden, you're shaking up a service area. All of a sudden, you're shaking up your area of the world and doing something that hasn't been done the way it was being done before. Sometimes, though, and I understand the nervousness that comes along with this, we want somebody to lay out a 3-step plan. If you do this, then you do this, then you do this, you will move from here to here. That is a prescriptive model. What is prescriptive? That's when you go to the doctor and they say, you need to take this. They tell you what you need to do. The problem with prescriptions in business is this. Your business is almost as unique as you are. Because you've chosen how to get to where you are. You've chosen how to do business the way you've chosen. Your business is almost as unique as you are. I love the fact when Kevin said, if CSI showed up, they should find your fingerprints all over this. Because this is what you've chosen to do. This is how you've chosen to move things forward. This is your business. When I try and prescribe to you how Chris did his business, it is not going to work one-to-one. So the best thing that we can do is break our mindset that there isn't a step-by-step process for us to get from here to there. But there are some really great stories out there. I loved hearing Brian talk this morning about the story of how Provia and the choices they've made and how they've gotten to where they've gotten. Not because I'm building a Provia. I don't have the skills or abilities or temperament to build a Provia. But because he was telling us and describing how to get there. Not prescribing to us the steps, but describing the thought processes we need to go through to get to where we want to go. If we can be radically honest about where we are, if we can be open to the fact that we can make up new paradigms for how we need to go, then we can take the steps to get to where we need to be. The last thing we have to be willing to do, though, is this. We have to be willing to leave behind the dead weight. So last year I talked about rockets, because I love rockets and I'm a big science nerd. And how rockets break gravity by having a violent, focused force to get away from where they are to where they want to go. It's basically light it on fire and hope it goes straight. And I love rockets because they are so cool like that. But you can't strap everything to the rocket. You can't say, I'm going to take all of this, I'm going to lash it together on this rocket and hope that it breaks free. Getting from where you are to where you want to go and propelling yourself there means you have to choose what you're going to take. You have to choose what's going to be left behind and what's going to move forward. Sometimes that's systems. Sometimes it's the way you have been doing what you're doing has to be left behind. Sometimes it's people. And this is where things get very personal. I was talking to a friend who does a lot of coaching across the country. She was telling me that she sat down with somebody at the beginning of January, and he lost his number one and his number two top producers within a month. They were poached and taken someplace else. And he honestly felt like it was the end. He felt like at that moment, that was the end of his business. There wasn't going to be any more after that point in time. He went through months and months of just depression, just trying to keep his head above water in his business, just trying to find his way. Now here's the fun part. We get to fast forward 9 months later. His business is twice as successful as it was, and he's found 2 more people who did it better than those 2 people ever did. He didn't voluntarily shed that weight, but as soon as he did, and that weight was taken off, he was propelled to a success level that he never before even thought was imaginable. We will fall into the trap sometimes of making excuses for the people that are around us when they underperform. We will make the excuse sometimes of saying, well, if I just keep trying, they will get better. We fall into the problem of dragging people along on a journey that don't want to go. And we have to sometimes leave them behind to propel ourselves forward. Brian, I can't believe that Brian said that this morning. That was so great to feed right into this. So thanks, Brian, for setting me up. But there are people in your life who won't want to grow. There are people in your business who won't want to grow. And if you know that, like Kevin said, it's either growth or death, and those are your options, you have to be willing to let them go. You have to be willing to let them move out of the way so that you can go where you need to go. You can be radically honest. If you can embrace the fact that you can create this new reality, and if you can be willing to drop the dead weight, you can find the energy to propel yourself to where you want to go. As Jordan said, I just started a new business and opened a restaurant about a month ago. Ask me how much I know about opening a restaurant, I'll tell you what I've learned in the last month. It is not something that I was like, wow, I set out in my life to open a restaurant. What happened was, I was here. And I said to a buddy of mine, I said, hey, we should open a cidery. I like cider. We could make hard ciders and do that kind of stuff. He's like, let me think about it. 4 months later, he's like, yeah, let's do that. We started down that path, and all of a sudden, a building with a restaurant was like immediately in front of me talking to people, and they're like, oh yeah, we'd like to sell if we could find the right person and just take this on. I'm like, oh, how much do you want? And they're like, well, we want this. I say, well, you take $95,000 less? And they're like, sure. And I'm like, oh, I'm buying a restaurant. What it did was it put the cidery a little farther out there and placed this in front of us. And then we spent months and months and months getting it ready to go. We've had a soft open of the last month. Every weekend that we're open, I learned something new about restaurants, how it's supposed to work, how you deliver great food at a consistent time, how do you source things when you say you're going to source stuff locally, and all of a sudden, you're trying to find those things on a local level. My partners who are along this journey with me, this is their first entrepreneurial journey. I've been down this path a couple times. I'm a little callous sometimes to the struggles that can happen along the path. But talking with them has opened my eyes again to how resilient you have to be to make that happen. And one of the first conversations we had when we were running up towards this is I said, we have to be willing to fail fast. We have to be willing to say whatever we're going to do as we move in this direction, whatever is going to happen. If I step and my foot does not land well and it causes me to stumble, I have to be willing to let that failure happen quickly. I cannot stay there and wallow in it. I cannot make that my identity and my personality and get all upset about it. Because failure is part of the journey. Failure is part of what happens. And moving from where we are and going and propelling ourselves to where we want to go, we have to be willing to fail. We have to be willing to fail fast at it. Because the faster I can fail, the quicker I can find the right way to make it happen. The comfort zone of here minimizes failure. We know how to do this. We may not be happy with it, but we know how to do this. We know how to make this happen. All its inefficiencies, all its frustrations, whatever it is, we know this. We don't have to risk a lot of failure here. But to go over there, my rocket may blow up. I may go down in a smoking crater at the end of the trip. That is a reality of any new endeavor. It may sputter. It may not quite work. The Apollo moon landing, the first time they did it, do you know they had to overshoot the landing area and use up almost all of their reserve fuel just to get to a place that they could land? Because when they got to the moon, all of a sudden they went, oh, there's rocks here. We can't land here. You have to be willing to let it fail in order to move on to what's going to succeed. There is no secret rocket fuel. There's no inspiration. Amanda talked about motivation this morning. There's nothing I can say that's going to help you go, I'm going to do the thing and move from here to here. But what I can say is I can say, if you're willing to accept your reality and responsibility for creating that reality, then start to change it. You can take the steps to propel yourself in that direction if you're willing to fail. Will the restaurant be a success? The entrepreneur in me says everything's always a success all the time. How many of you understand that? Everything is always a success all the time, and I can polish that thing until it shines. It may smell, but I'm going to polish it until it shines all day long. But the reality of it is, it could fail in any number of different ways. Will it make me feel sad? Yeah, it would. Do I believe it's going to? I don't think so. Lindsay's my marketing team, so she's not going to let it fail, even if I thought it might. But the reality of it is, we wanted to do that thing because we had the reason that we wanted to highlight local food in Holmes County in a way it hadn't been done before, in a place that we would wanted to be proud to eat. It is worth moving from where we were to there. My reason for going is enough to risk failure. And that's the last thing. Why haven't you gone from where you are to where you want to be? Why hasn't that idea that you've been sitting on for months or years, why hasn't it happened? You have to have a compelling reason why. The why is what keeps you going when you stumble. The why is what keeps you focused when you succeed on how to continue to succeed further. You have to have a compelling reason why. or else that idea is just going to sit out there and niggle at your brain and keep scratching for a long time. And you're going to stay in the box of made-up rules and reality before moving on to what you want to create. The reality of being able to propel yourself from where you are to where you want to go is just changing your mind. That's it. Change your mind. What are you willing to do? What are you willing to go after? How are you willing to make the change? Who are you willing to leave behind? What are you willing to leave behind to make those things happen? Because it's exciting when you see people do it. Think of the last person or last business that you saw that really shook things up because they chose to go from one place to the next. And you're like, wow, that's brave. As I look out here, I see multiple businesses that have made choices over the years. Multiple individuals that even changed their career paths because they saw something that they wanted to make happen. And they moved from where they were, as safe and comfortable as it was, to where they wanted to go, risking the failure along the way. Grow, accelerate, propel. That's what today's about. You've heard a little bit about each, and you're going to hear a little bit more as we talk about leadership in the next section. But I really, really want, from this 30 minutes, 40 minutes we get to spend together, you to come to a place where you're like, I acknowledge my reality and I want to change it. And if you want to change it, get going. You'll figure it out. You will, I promise. Or you'll fail and you'll figure out why it didn't work and you'll move on in a different direction again. It won't be the end of the world, I promise. If every failure had stacked up to me being at the end of the world, then I probably wouldn't be here right now. Because failure is just so real in every choice that you make. We celebrate the successes, but we have to be willing to embrace the failures and learn from them. All right, here we go. So we have about 5-10 minutes before the next session. Jordan asked me to go ahead and give us a moment to stretch our legs, take a break. We're going to set up for the podcast back in here at 1:30. So take a few minutes. If you didn't get a chance to talk to enough people before, go ahead and talk to them again during this time. If you haven't had a chance to visit with all of our sponsors out there, go see them and tell them you appreciate all they did to make today possible. And we will be back here in 10 minutes. Thanks, guys.